talking about us, Virginia. I know.
I'm Christina.
I'm Kendall.
We love talking about movies.
We like them weird and unconventional.
Offbeat and underrated cinema with cult charm.
And now we're going to share a conversation with you.
We're the Psychotronic Sisters.
Come into my den, said the spider, etc.
When Udo Kier passed, I thought, oh, we have to do an emergency Udo episode because he's really the spirit of Psychotronic.
True.
Where you go grab that check, but it's also like this is a place where you can be wild and bold and free and serious.
Mm-hmm.
This is Udo Kier, even though he also could be quite a great actor in what you might call a serious way. So yeah, I knew that we had to do this.
Yeah. And if you compare him to like this year we lost Terrence Stamp and him. And in some ways you can compare them with their beauty,
Right.
you know, this kind of beautifully photogenic piercing eyes but in a way it's kind of helpful to contrast them too, because if they're a little bit similar in looks, it helps to understand what does Udo bring to a movie if you look at how they're different, for example, right? Like Terrence Stamp could be really a chilling, and so could Udo. Like if we will probably get to talking about a movie like Bacurau, which is where he's a villain, but in general there's something kind of really lovable about him, like a kindness, a sweetness. He's very playful in his roles. He's very vulnerable and sensitive.
And humor.
And he seemed like he would be up for anything. He was kind of game to do everything and fully committed, in the roles. Like he was never, doing anything ironically. It was totally into every role that looked like.
That's so right. And there's few people that I think now that is exactly how I would want to live a life. But
right.
It wasn't a joke to him, but he also seemed to be perpetually at play.
Exactly.
I think I started to learn more about who he was as a person through Guy Madden posting about him. And when he passed, actually, I mentioned this to Guy Madden, that the first thing I thought was about him at a collage party with him. They were making collages together, and he kind of had his head back, and he looked like he was having so much fun. And I thought, I think this is what this guy's about. Just show up and just enjoy company and he said that had been at the Toronto Film Festival, and they were at a bar and they were just all out there just enjoying each other. And I thought, oh, this is him. He wants to work. He wants to stay out there and do things. He will take the job and just do it and do his best with it. But every once in a while there's something in there that's also just...
That's how he connected with people too. Like he would say about Lars von Trier, for example, when they first met, that they could just connected by von Trier was telling him about an image that, he said, when you go in a church and you see, melancholy and emotion and stuff, that's what I like, and Udo Kier would say, yeah, me too. And then they would connect like that, like common, a shared interest in depicting that kind of thing.
He was tapped in.
Yeah.
I think that's why I wrote this down. Lars von Trier, Guy Madden, Gus Van Sant, Rob Zombie.
What a range.
There's all these music videos he did too.
Mm-hmm.
He's in middle age and adored by Madonna, Eve, the Goo Goo Dolls. There's one I'm missing where it was kind of a sci-fi situation, and he performed this character in a one. I don't remember what that one was, but he did a lot of music videos too. So the kids liked him.
And he wrote his own. Like he had the song that he does in My Own Private Idaho was his song. And I think like what year was that movie? That was like 91, 92, I think, right?
Early 90s.
And that song was in 85. It was a really like that's my favorite kind of music is the Euro synthy stuff. And he wrote that song. It was called Der Adler, the Eagle. And there's something there's a video for it too where he Actually, I'll come back to that later, but what the video was about. But that that's another thing that you can love about him, that he's just so creative. Like he did all this stuff, he tried all these different things. He did the music and the acting and all this perform different types of performance and creativity.
Yeah, and I mean, all the way he was game all the way through his life too. I want to talk about what you learned from his interviews, but
Hmm. Hmm.
there was one thing I saw. It was a fundraising clip for Swan Song, which is one of
Hmm.
his really great later films.
Hmm.
So it's the director, talking, and then it goes back to him like lighting a little cigar or something. And he's talking about the script and how much he likes it. And it's a little goofy because he's like, "Oh, you're smoking," kind of,
Yeah.
but he also really loved the script and is being sincere about it. So it's both
Yeah.
things at once. And
Yeah.
I just love that he's at play, but he also, he's like is supporting this young filmmaker and is totally into doing this role with him.
That's
So
right.
I have not watched a lot of interviews with him, but you have. So what was your takeaway from these interviews?
Well, specifically starting on that note with Swan Song, he was saying that in general, the way he would choose roles was he would read his part first. I think if I remember correctly, he would read his part first and see what it was all about. And then he would read the whole thing and see if his character was key to the story and very important in the whole. And then if it was, like if you couldn't imagine the movie without that character, then, then he would do it. And he had a funny quote where someone in the audience, like I really recommend if anybody wants to listen, there are two excellent interviews. One was the Locarno Film Fest, and the other one was a SAG award, and both in the last 3 or 4 years. I think for both he was promoting Swan Song. And somebody in the audience said, "Well, you've done over 250 some movies." And he said 100 were bad. 50 okay if you have a little alcohol, a glass of wine, maybe you could watch them. And 50 were not bad. And he said, and I think that's pretty good. If you can say as an actor that you have 50 not bad movies, then I think I did a good job. And that was just his way. Like he could still be really humble. Like there's no, ego or anything like that. It's just that he had fun. And the other thing that he would talk about is don't act. He would say, don't act, and that doesn't mean, do nothing. It means it takes a lot of forethought and kind of internalizing the role. And that he believed a lot in improv. As long as you get to the point, the linking point to the next scene or the next moving the plot forward, as long as you get that information across, then, you're doing a good job. But that was his approach to everything. He had a kind of he said he was lucky, but it's not just luck and it's not just looks because he had those beautiful looks too.
Yeah.
He had a talent and a nice attitude, I think, about, bringing a quirkiness and giving his all.
I mean, that's so intelligent, but there's also emotional intelligence in there.
Yeah.
And I think that can be lacking in someone who is driven to act sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
There's a certain childishness which can lead to great things, which can also impede a performer and lead to too ego-driven
Hmm.
decisions. Like you
Hmm.
need the ego, absolutely, a
Yeah.
little bit higher, but
But you
but
saw
yeah,
Swan Song, eh? You watched Swan Song. And it's
yeah.
not like a psychotronic movie, but I think it's important to mention it because it's really his first big leading role at a very late stage in his
Yeah.
career.
And it's funny because everything that makes him a psychotronic icon is in that performance,
Hmm. Hmm.
that edge that he has. And it's also one of those underdog, has a goal, heartwarming, this is generally the kind of thing that I can't stand.
Hmm.
But the way that it was written and the way that he performs it makes it so moving and so much fun.
Yeah.
The fact that he's got a little edge, but also just these conversations that are written for him. Like there's a woman where he talking about how he makes people feel beautiful and how he made them feel and what his worth is. Like he
Yes.
knows his worth. And then there's also just the trauma of being queer in the age that
Hmm.
he was, where so
Hmm.
many of your friends there's a pandemic, and there's so many friends dying of AIDS
Yeah.
and how painful that is, the loss of his life and processing that as well.
And the ending of it too, like I'm gonna spoil, and we always spoil, but there's something in the ending of Swan Song that you can link to his career too, because if you remember at the end, it turns out like there's this whole theme of he's aging, he knows he's going to die soon, and there's the issue of, he's never had kids, and people are going to forget him as soon as he dies, right? And then at the end, it turns out that there was the character that said that he, by being queer, that he represented, that it was representation to this other character and made him comfortable being himself, just by living the way he was. And that's something that you could say about his, that he brings to his career. He just was himself, and he wasn't in all these movies. And partly, probably people cast him because of what he brought that way too.
Yeah, because he did go through so much, and he did have a lightness about them that would maybe make you not aware of that. And I think it had to have been healing for this guy.
Mm-hmm.
To be in this role and talk about these things in a movie. And again, this is what makes it not a cliche movie, is those conversations like that one as well,
legacy.
And I don't know, maybe he understood a little bit about his own legacy too. Just his way of acceptance and his way about moving into his own identity, with My Own Private Idaho being boldly queer, and how that must have been great to have several decades where he could have that full identity.
Right.
But the beginning is also interesting. I'm trying to think where I first saw him. I think it might have been Suspiria.
Okay. Yeah.
I wondered if it was My Own Private Idaho, but then I thought, no, because there was a sense of weight. The eyes, right? Those beautiful eyes that made him a hottie to the very end.
Yeah.
But I think it was Suspiria because there's just so much horror there and just this feeling of unease. But then suddenly you're looking at this gorgeous man. He's just supposed to be some expert talking to our main character out in the daylight. So there's a little bit of a relief from the darkness of the rest of it. But he's so damn beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know that I've ever really listened to much of what he says in that scene because of that.
Yeah.
The way he's shot.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's unforgettable.
Argento shoots him like a lady, like in a loving way,
Yeah, yeah. Camera loves him, and he was dubbed for that. So I mean, anyone who was introduced to him through Suspiria didn't get some almost the one of the best parts of him.
No, the accent really hits you between the eyes when you realize, and that's such a charming part of him.
Yeah.
Too, that it was such a thick accent his whole life. I always thought that was kind of wonderful too, because it's just so distinctly him.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's just other things like, okay, you've seen Mark of the Devil, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a rough one, but he's beautiful in it.
It's brutal. It's brutal, and I barely made it through once. and I can handle some stuff. And all the dudes in there are so freaking ugly. I mean, just the most.
Yeah.
They look like apple doll witches, kitchen witches or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's there just gorgeous, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing where it's just like he's like a balm on the proceedings.
That's right. Yeah. You always go, you kind of do a little gasp when you see him.
Yeah.
Always.
And it's like he said himself that he wasn't about acting in the beginning. He knew that it was his looks getting him cast, but it's just still never going to be just that. If you get asked back again, you're doing something else. And like his presence is something. And also the way one puts that forward is not always necessarily about acting, but it's still work and it's still a talent. And I think that he had that from the beginning.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And the story, do you know the story of how he, speaking of the beginning, when he was on a plane, he often tells in the interviews, he was always telling the story of meeting Paul Morrissey on the plane and showing him, the headshot that she had, the picture, and they called him to play Baron Frankenstein in Flesh for Frankenstein. And now I want to ask you, when you're the director, what are you trying to achieve when you cast him in that role? I mean, that's a fascinating choice to me to put him in that role, in that kind of movie.
I mean, it must have been instant impact.
Yeah.
He must have sat down and saw what we see whenever he appears on the screen. Because Kim picked a crappiest movie in the world, but when he appears, you're just like, ooh,
Yeah.
Udo.
Yeah.
You're
Who is that?
locked into him. So
Yeah.
I feel like it must have been that. It kind of makes me think of another story about Jane Fonda running into Sharon Tate on a
Hmm.
plane, just turning around and looking at her and like, why are you on commercial?
Yeah.
Like, why are you not in the most elegant of surroundings?
Yeah. Some people
And she's
just
Jane Fonda,
have it. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
well, I'm like, well, why are you? But no, I feel like it must have been that same impact. And it's very intimate being on a
Hmm.
plane
Hmm.
right next
Hmm.
to somebody, whether you like
Yeah.
it or not, I guess. But so I think it's that. And just, he definitely had charisma.
Oh, yeah.
So the end result is he's always going to be worth casting.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
always going to look good. Like you even get him into Swan Song or Bacurau.
Hmm.
He is acting. He's doing great characters there,
Yeah.
but he absolutely could have done less, and it still would have been magnificent.
Yeah. Just stand there and be photographed. It's so photogenic. But, in continuing with Frankenstein, but then you get him. You maybe you cast him because of those looks, but then you get him and he's just so wonderful. Like he's so over the top and almost farcical
Yeah,
in that movie and kind of brings out I read a comment that, for example, in that and A Blood for Dracula, he brings out this kind of perversion in the Gothic that's kind of in the Gothic, but it's not always brought, the queerness and the perversion and the this desire to in Frankenstein's case, this desire to accomplish some kind of a perfect race of a human or something, that he's trying to do. And you really bring that out by casting someone like that, and making it about that
yeah.
drive. It's really fascinating.
See, I was circling the word camp, which is so
Yeah.
overused, but perversion is so much better because that's what
And
makes him.
transgressive, yeah.
Yeah, how he is this character, and a lot of times a character like that will have a hint of shame to them, and he does
Hmm.
not do
No.
that. And that's what makes him so much more appropriate for these roles than a lot of other actors,
Yeah.
is because he's just, I am living this. I
Yeah.
am
Yeah.
this perverse being, like
Yeah.
joyfully so.
Joy,
You know, I
exactly. That's the
there's
key,
no darkness
joyfully.
in me,
And making it so entertaining too. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
right. That's exactly the key, I think, that what you just said. And
yeah,
like when you asked him about Dracula and then how he ends up in Dracula is interesting too because I know they say they were filming them both at the same time and Blood for Dracula comes next. And after they finished Flesh for Frankenstein, Paul Morrissey said the actor Serjan Zelenovic, who actually played the Frankenstein's monster the body that he used, right? He was supposed to be Dracula next, and there was some visa issues or something like that, and so they said, Udo, you do it, but go on a diet and lose quickly 10 pounds because it's supposed to be like a dying, waning Dracula. So he ends up in that. And he always said that his dream, in one of the interviews that I was watching, he said that his dream role in life that he never really got to play was to play like a banker, regular kind of office, guy by day, and kind of an unassuming family man, and then at night he would turn into Dracula and be a vampire, and that was his dream role. So I that's kind of another way to look at his whole career in a way, It's kind of like he said Dracula was to him a very sympathetic character. Like you feel for him the way he played him anyway. He said he wanted to play a vampire so that he said we're all vampires, is in one
yeah.
way or another, whether it's energy or money or whatever. And so he thought that's kind of a good way to sum up his approach to playing roles like that.
And I love, it's too bright. It's just that. For a while, I'm like, what is he reminding me of? I'm like, oh, it's Garbo.
Yeah, yeah. That's true.
Oh, leave me alone. It's too
Yeah.
much. He had that sort of 40s heroine,
Yep.
30s Garbo sort of thing.
Diva, prima donna thing.
Diva.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And it just, that quality shows up in the funniest ways. Like when he
Yeah.
was playing the grandpa that dies 20 minutes into the film, he's kind of being a diva and just
Yeah,
like when he talks about how it needs to be important, like what he's saying is, I don't need to be the star, I just need to matter.
that's right. Yeah.
And he always does. It's because sometimes I won't even really care about the rest of the movie, and because because he's gone so early, because he makes his
Hmm. Hmm.
mark so indelibly. And I mean, My Own Private Idaho is another great. I love that movie, but those two scenes that he's in are just,
So good and so memorable.
yeah. And I saw that when it came out, and those were the parts that I
Hmm.
really remembered. And watching it
Yeah.
again recently, I'm like, oh wow, I've forgotten a lot.
Yeah. The song and dance with the lamp is just so
Yeah.
funny. It's
And I
funny, but
mean,
I mean,
yeah,
it's kind of sad in the context of it, but when you just look at that part of it, is he's so good.
but he goes for it with it.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
oddly sexy.
Yeah.
Like it's supposed to be goofy and quirky and eccentric, but I'm like, but he's kind of hot there too. Like just a bit. Just a
Yeah.
bit. I mean, it is just this thing though that like there's a lot of movies like I don't know, just something like Puppet Master, The Littlest Reich. I
Mm-hmm.
probably, would have watched that and just completely forgotten about it. Like it's well done. It's pretty gory.
Yeah. Yeah.
It does its job, but it is just like, well, Udo Kier and Barbara Crampton are in it.
Yeah.
So it's much
Elevates it right
more
away.
memorable because of those two, you know?
That's what I call elevated horror because they elevate it.
Yeah.
It's so bad, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's
No.
exactly people like that, right? You watch anything for people like that.
Hmm. It's like Joan Blondell in the 30s.
Yeah.
How it's like, well, she was never bad. It's kind of
Hmm.
the same thing. It's what makes him so special, really.
Did you see, we didn't talk about this before, but did you happen to see the series Masters of Horror? And John Carpenter had the one, oh, what was the name of it? Cigarette Burns, I think. Cigarette Burns, where Udo was he hired Norman, it was young Norman Reedus, I'm pretty sure that's who it was, to find this lost film where anyone who watched the film would just go mad, and the film was hidden or something. It's really good. It's only about, I think, 40 minutes, 50 minutes or so,
I don't know
and
how I haven't seen all of
that's
those.
really good, and it's really gory and weird.
Okay,
So
well, that's what I'm
that's
checking out
another good
next.
performance.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
what I've seen of Masters of Horror, I really liked. I don't know how, I don't know. I think I was maybe saving some of it for
the good
myself, so I
ones. Yeah.
didn't like race through it too fast. But then I lose the thought of it and I forget
Hmm.
about it.
Hmm.
We both really love one of his later roles, 2019, Bacurau.
Hmm.
Now that's
Hmm.
Brazilian, is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
That's an
With
excellent film.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I rewatched it. It's such a surprise
Yeah.
because it's got all these different things going on. It's like a genre mashup in a way. Like you don't expect where it's going to go. A little bit of people mention everything from Seven Samurai to Most Dangerous Game. There's a reference to John Carpenter in it. Sonia Braga's in it, and it's just really great. It's about a tiny little town in the middle of nowhere in Brazil,
Yeah.
and you think it's going to be about water rights and a local politician, but then Udo is the head villain of this group that comes in, and then it's really, and that's one I wouldn't want to spoil. If anybody hears this and wants to try it, they should be surprised. They shouldn't have it spoiled for them because it's really fantastic.
It gets so much better. It just so much more violent and intense,
Yeah,
and as far as the townspeople go, it's so much more it's satisfying than you would think. Like you think it's going
very.
to be kind of this whimsical thing, but you realize how strong they are and how
Yeah,
much more character they have.
community.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of follows nicely since our conversations about the siege movies, because it's another one of those cases where you have this little community that pulls together
Yeah.
to fight back.
Yeah, and that can be the corniest thing in the world, or it can
Hmm.
be absolutely empowering and
Yep.
inspiring in a more visceral way, which is,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
this fits
It's
the bill. And he's a little funny in it. Again, he's
yeah.
evil. He's a psychopath, really, but he's so funny.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that movie's not a bigger deal.
Yeah, me
It's one of the
too.
best movies in the past decade.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
For sure. Yeah, and I always recommend it to people because it's so, if you like genre of any kind, it's just a really great mix of different elements that we all love from different movies, and it's still surprising. It's satisfying because it gives you everything you want from this type of movie without going into it, but
Yeah.
it's really still surprising, which is hard to do anymore.
And I believe that's the one where he cried for the first time in his whole career at the
Hmm.
premiere because he was
Hmm.
so moved and because it was such a satisfying experience. And I get it. It really is
Yeah,
wonderful.
yeah.
So we gotta dip back on the music videos.
Oh,
Madonna's
right.
obsession with him during the
Well,
erotica period and
that's
just,
right.
him dancing in an Eve video. I mean, pe people loved him. He did never disappear.
No, that's really where I first got to discover him, I think. I'm pretty sure. It's through Madonna and the videos and everything because he has that, of course, now we've said it 100 times, that's such a distinctive look. So beautiful and you can't help but notice him and then
Yeah.
wonder who is that, like it's not a model because he was a little older at that time already. So then once you look into it and if you were reading up on Madonna at the time, then you would that whole how she got him and what she was trying to do with him with the sex book and the deeper and deeper video, I think it was right. Yeah, it was she was trying to recreate that kind of Warhol factory atmosphere,
I feel that.
and then that's how I kind of got more into figuring out who he was at the time and that was where he came from. So
And I mean, she really obsesses over him, the
hmm
direction. It even
hmm
goes straight in on his eyes at one point.
yeah,
You can tell she's mesmerized by this guy. And then
yeah,
there's something like the Eve video, Blow Your Mind, with
yeah,
Gwen Stefani, where he's supposed to be this uptight guy, and then he ends up dancing with the people that crash the party, which
yeah,
I
yeah.
guess he's just himself there, probably.
He has that kind of Christopher Walken feel that
Right.
way.
Yes.
Like to look at him, you're thinking like a villain type, but then all of a sudden he would start dancing and being really silly. So
Yeah.
that kind of the same attitude.
The difference is Christopher Walken kind of doesn't always seem right here.
Hmm.
He seems up in the clouds a little bit
Yeah,
sometimes, and Udo never did. He always kind of
no.
seems like he's right there on the earth partying with you.
Yeah, and he said that in one of the interviews that I was watching. I think it was the Locarno one. He said, two things. He was kind of explaining what his personal life was like and why he was able to play evil so well. Like he said, to play a truly evil, he believed that you had to be a very good person in real life. That he said those are the best to play villains. And then he said, I go home, I have all I care about is the gardening. He bought an old library that he converted into a home. He said he goes thrifting. He loves looking at furniture and buying old furniture and in his garden, he has a turtle named Han Solo and a dog named Liza Minnelli, and
Mm.
and he said that's my life is not anything like what people think when they see all these, this range of films, that I've done.
Yeah, evil is not self-regarding, but the innocent understand evil very well. It's true.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
they have the conscience to understand it, and he certainly did. There's a great piece that Kim Morgan wrote
Hmm.
about thrifting with Udo, and
Yeah.
she reposted that on Blue Sky. I'm sure of it. So that's really worth seeing, and
Looking for it.
I
Yeah.
think was the first time that I really knew something about him personally and was fascinated with that part of him.
Hmm.
Just how he would just go in and charm shopkeepers and just enjoy being out there, having a day together.
Yeah. Yeah.
What more could you want? And there was, I think he feels pretty satisfied, but you were saying there were some things that he had hoped to play that he didn't.
Yeah, one of the things he said that was really interesting to him was, I mean, everybody knows because of the documentary or in the books that Jodorowsky was going to do Dune, and then
Yeah.
Lynch did, and
Do
but
we all
in
cry
in
for that?
I know, and he was going through. He was talking about all the casting and everything, and he was going to be in it playing Fade Routha, who is, I believe, Austin Butler, right, in the new one. Can you imagine? That would have been something.
I
That
mean, the
whole
whole
project.
cast just makes
Yeah.
you want to sob.
Yeah. Yeah. Too
Yeah.
bad. Great lost projects. But he never was one to dwell on. People would ask him in these interviews about, the stories the biographical stories about him being born and in the hospital when, in World War II when it was being bombed. And he would talk about it a little bit and then he would say, well, we move on from sad things. We move on and let's talk about Madonna or let's talk about something else. So he was never one to dwell on all these, lost things he had. He was happy to talk about his favorite roles instead and future, and always looking to the future.
I mean, he kept it moving. He was definitely the epitome of, make the most of life, but don't make too much of it at the same time.
Yeah. Have fun.
It was so him. I mean, he's this dude that's, in Swan Song, and he's also in Blade. He's also in Barbed Wire. He also does a voice in Scooby-Doo. He just did it all and just like, why not?
Yeah.
He makes a living. He can go do some thrifting.
Yeah.
He can go to a collage party. He can, go to a film festival and everybody loves him. And then he can go do what he wants somewhere else. I don't know. I respect him so much. And like I said, this is one of the few lives where I'm like, yeah, I would love to exactly have a life like this. Like this is
exactly.
This is how you live. This is how you have like the full sampler. You eat all the chocolates.
That's right.
I think he really did it, and I admire him for so much for living that life, but also at the same time being very kind and supportive and loving all kinds of people. He really did it all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a role model. Yeah, to be creative and always be, finding abundance in everything.
Yes.
In daily life, finding at the end of the day that you had an abundant day no matter what you did.
Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful. If there was anybody worthy of an emergency episode, it is Sir Udo here. I just love him to bits.
Maybe someday we'll return to one or two of his movies and do them more in depth, maybe.
Yeah, there's always going to be more to say about him. Yeah. Well, I'm glad we had this talk.
Yep. Thanks for listening. You can find us and more of our links at psychotronicsisters.wordpress.com.